Yo, what is on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. First things first, if you're not subscribed, go and smash the subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you can stay in the loop on all the videos to come. And yeah, let's go ahead and get right into today's video. So in today's video, I have a 2022 BMW M4 Competition. So this is the competition package, and as you guys can see, this thing is absolutely beautiful. I'm gonna go ahead and take you guys around the car and show y'all overall my first impressions of it. So yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. And so here I actually have it in the C31 paint code. That is the Portimao Blue. I really don't know how to pronounce it, but it's a blue metallic flake, and it looks absolutely beautiful. Depending on the way that the sun hits it or light hits it, it gets really dark and then it gradually gets to like a lighter color, but it is really beautiful. Now, the one thing that all BMW owners gave this car a lot of flack for was these huge front grills. You know, I'm gonna say this right now, in person, they're not insanely ugly. Now, I was probably the #1 person who absolutely hated the way these front grills look, and to be honest with you, I still kind of do. But I will say, when you see the car in person, it really isn't that bad. You can see how much cooling these huge grills are able to like amplify. A lot of air to the vehicle, to the radiator and etc. for cooling purposes. So I still, you know, am not a huge fan of them, but they don't look the absolute worst in person. And they're able to kind of pull it off just because they have these hood indents here, and I guess it's for aerodynamics or maybe just for an aggressive look, but they don't look absolutely terrible in person. Up front, the lighting system is pretty sick. I mean, BMW's basically gone away from the halos. They have like these hard U shapes now, and I think they look very aggressive and very modern. Still miss like the old nostalgic like halo look, but up front, the lighting system on this is probably the best that I've used in a car. At nighttime, it's pretty insane how well these light up the road, and I'm gonna go ahead and plug in a clip of some nighttime driving right now. And these are optioned with these pretty sick BMW M Competition rims, and I absolutely love the way these look. I see these on the M3 all the time as well, and just all these spokes. I will say, cleaning it is a pain. I actually just took the car out and washed it myself, and getting in all those little grooves does take forever, but they look extremely aggressive, and just the amount of spokes on those just look absolutely insane. Up front, as you guys can see, these enormous brake calipers. These are 6-piston brake calipers up front, and it is pretty insane, guys. I mean, the braking system on this is easily the best out of any car I've ever drove. These brakes are extremely sensitive. I'm talking like you can be going from 60 to 0 at just the slightest press of the brake pedal. It's actually insane. They're extremely sensitive and do their job extremely well at stopping this car from high speeds. And of course, we have the iconic fender slot to allow the air to come through the top of the tire and exit itself out the fender for aerodynamics. And it's always been kind of like a little subtle flex to show that you're driving an M-Class car. And just walking around the exterior of the vehicle, you can see the side skirts at the bottom are extremely aggressive for aerodynamics and downforce. It is absolutely beautiful from the exterior. I think BMW nailed the rear end. It looks extremely aggressive, extremely wide, but these quad tips are enormous. I mean, if you really just look at those and look at how sizable they are, and it emulates when you turn the car on, this is probably one of the best sounding stock exhausts I've heard on any BMW. And as you can see, BMW's done away with the little rear vent that used to be there for the air to pass over the tire and come out the rear. Now it's a little reflective light bar, but look at those quad tips. I mean, those are truly a work of art. I really do love the aggressive look on the rear. Now, something to me that looks a little bit more weird, I would say, or a little bit different, would be these mirrors. These to me look like something straight off of like a spaceship, something you'd see on Star Trek. They still kept to their roots. You still have the little M swoosh right here for the mirror caps. It's not as like rounded and angular, I guess, as before, and now it looks kind of boxy. That's just something small I've noticed on the car that's definitely changed. Like I said, it really reminds me of some like Star Trek or some sci-fi looking spaceship components. Not a bad thing by any means, just something that looks a little bit more different, I would say. I'm sure it's for aerodynamics. I'm sure all the BMW engineers and etc. thought about this while they were designing the car. But yeah, guys, the exterior of the vehicle is absolutely beautiful. I mean, it's definitely not traditional to anything we've seen BMW do in the past. I mean, everything's different. I'm still not a huge fan of these grills. I'm gonna say it, I don't think I'll ever be. I think if I owned one of these, I'd probably do the conversion and get rid of the grills. But in person, they really don't look the worst, and they do their job. They're meant for enhanced cooling. But again, I'm really not a huge fan. Now, the one thing that I would say from the exterior, I guess it doesn't sit right with me, is I feel like the rear end is a lot bulkier and bigger than the front end. The front end I feel like is a little too narrow, and I'll kind of show you what I mean right now. So the only thing that doesn't resonate with me extremely well on the front end is I feel like the front end is kind of narrow. You still have a ton of room here on the front, and I feel like it really just doesn't sit low enough. I mean, you have almost 6 inches from the front. I feel like definitely if you were to purchase one of these long term, I would definitely get myself a front lip because going around to the rear of the car, everything just looks a lot more aggressive and bulky. I mean, yeah, it's still higher off the ground, but the rear end looks overall more filled. That's just my opinion, especially if you were to get like a high kick spoiler. This already is pretty sizable, but coming around to the front, I just feel like it's missing something. One thing I would say is a front lip would definitely be, you know, appreciated on the front portion. Besides the huge front grills, and I feel like the front end really just needs a lip or something of the sort. Besides that, aesthetically, the car is absolutely beautiful. I think just driving it for a day, I got a ton of compliments. I had it parked outside my garage, and you know, people were walking by and saying, dude, that is a sick car. Aesthetically, I'd say this car is a huge go and looks phenomenal. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into the interior now. And now the interior is hands down my favorite part about this car. So even just opening it up, absolutely stunning. Now this is the Kyalami Orange. God, I am so bad at pronouncing these. Really just take a second, I'll cue up some lo-fi music, but take a moment just to really take in how beautiful this interior is on this car. And now we're just gonna take a second to sit down in the car, and I'll just kind of run through the interior really briefly. But man, it is absolutely beautiful in here. So we're gonna go ahead and start up the car. I love how the push start button's right here. First off, the first thing you'll notice is the digital dashboard, and the digital dash on this car is a welcome change to many. I'm not a huge fan of digital dashes in the long run, just because the technology over time, obviously you're gonna have to get it serviced and etc. But it is absolutely beautiful. I love the ambient lighting going all around the car. You can actually adjust that via the screen right here. I'll go ahead and show you all the different things you can do on this car in the interior. So yeah, let's hop into that. So as you can see, your multimedia, little iDrive knob is here in the middle. And now I'll kind of run through everything you can check on this car. So here we have the M menu where you can configure your M buttons, which are located right here on the steering wheel, so M1 and M2. And basically what you can do is set specific parameters to the car's M buttons. So let's say we're customizing M1, you have the engine sport, and you can change that. So you can make that button queue up Sport Plus. You can make it go to a specific gear. You can put the chassis in a specific mode. So you can basically dial in everything pertaining to the car and link it all to this one button. So let's say I want the M1 button to do sport mode on the whole chassis, on the engine, this, that, but I still want it to keep traction control on, that I can queue that all up right here in the menu. Then same thing for M button 2, so I think that is pretty sick that you can dial in on those specifics. And then as well, obviously we have the vehicle status. It's going to tell you all the different systems, so your oil levels, your TPMS, all that good stuff. So we have media for wireless CarPlay and etc. to link all your music through Bluetooth. You have your navigation. You have all the different apps on the car. This is where you can view your Apple CarPlay. Obviously I'm not connected at the moment, but you have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, all that good stuff built in. And now once we go through to settings, so once you hit settings, this is where you can dial in basically everything. Exterior lighting you can dial in, so obviously you have your one-touch turn signal. You can change it from like 1 to 3, etc. You can dial in basically everything pertaining to the exterior lighting of the car, the pathway lighting, all that good stuff. Then heading into driving assistance, this is where all of your safety features and everything else are going to be at. And then a very, very welcome add-on is the interior lighting control. So we can actually change all of the colors for the ambient lighting located all around the vehicle. So you can see right here We have our ambient lighting going through the doors, going through the dashboard. It does relay down to the floor as well, but the ambient lighting all around the car can be changed right here. Let's go ahead and do like orange and white, and you can see right here that it changed, and now I'll cue up like blue, something you can probably see a little bit better, but now we have blue, and it's very nice to be able to dial in the ambient lighting. I think it's one of those little things that really does change a lot about the car from the interior perspective. Yeah guys, there's so many little touches in this car, even like the little airflow right here, how it's all engraved with all these patterns and etc. So many little touches on this car. BMW absolutely nailed. I love having the push start button and all these controls here. It really does feel so much more premium. And you can see here, this is what's going to control everything. So we control the aggressiveness and etc. of the shifts by clicking up and down here. But this shifter feels extremely premium in the hand. The materials are extremely nice. Having a little park button here. And I really would dive into everything on the car, but there's just so much to cover in the interior portion of this car. All of the materials in this car just feel overall extremely nice. The M4 Competition seats look and feel freaking great. You have Alcantara here on the seats. Even this ash gray, like dark trim. Really, I don't even really care to have carbon in here because this still looks so premium and so nice. BMW 100% nailed it. They got stuck and stagnant a while in their interiors and they couldn't think up of much to change it up. And now I definitely think BMW is at close quarters with a lot of these other car manufacturers in their echelon. But now we're gonna talk about one of the main reasons you'd buy an M4. That's the horsepower, the torque, everything like that. So let's go ahead and pop under the hood. Engine setup on this thing is absolutely wicked. I mean, look at these huge 2 intakes that we have to supply air to those twin turbos. So the 2022 M4 is going to come equipped with the S58 engine, and that's going to be a twin turbo inline 6. On the Competition, that is good for 503 horsepower and 479 foot-pounds of torque. And it is absolutely crazy because this car produces so much torque in so little time. I mean, you're producing most of that torque before you're even at 2,500 RPMs. So it's absolutely insane. Our turbochargers, as much as, you know, in the future they can become unreliable, it's absolutely changed the game for the whole car scene because you barely have to actuate the throttle, and this car absolutely gets up and goes. And it's absolutely ridiculous how fast this car is. And you pair that in with it being XDrive, all-wheel drive, since it's a Competition, it's pretty gnarly. I mean, 479 foot-pounds of torque, 503 horsepower coming out of an all-wheel drive car. Coming off of a launch and just day-to-day driving, this thing is an absolute blast. Now, I can't imagine having to DIY an engine like this, but I mean, you know, if you have M4 Competition money, you either have a shop or you have connections or you have the money for it. But if you're a DIYer, I mean, I really can't imagine you being able to do too much DIY on this car besides maybe an oil change or even like spark plugs or something of the sort. But you can see this triangle 3-way strut brace coming through across the top of the strut tower, tying into the middle of the front end. That is obviously to keep the suspension all in line. So when you go over uneven roads and etc., your suspension is all acting in sync, and you don't have one side of the suspension that has different output or play than the other side of the suspension. So basically it's going to tie everything together and make everything just more sturdy and more rigid, especially going over uneven roads, deep curves, and etc. And this is obviously the pinnacle part of the car that makes it just so much fun to drive, would be the engine. And I really can't stress it enough, guys. I mean, BMW absolutely nailed the performance end of this car. 503 horsepower, 479 foot-pounds of torque, all at lower RPMs, and it being an XDrive is absolutely insane. Like, I'm telling you, once you get on the pedal, and you basically have to put little to no force to make that happen, but once you get on the pedal, it's crazy how fast the car gets up and goes. I mean, the non-Competition M4 still makes 406 foot-pounds of torque, and that's still insane. I mean, we drove the F80 M3, link for that down below, still was 406 foot-pounds of torque, and that thing still had me launching in my seat. So the engine, everything relating to performance gets a huge thumbs up. BMW really did absolutely nail this car. But yeah, guys, that was my first impressions on the 2022 BMW M4 Competition, and the car is absolutely amazing. The interior, the exterior, the performance end of things, there's really nothing I would change besides, obviously, I'm not a huge fan of the front grille, but if you're able to add a front lip onto one of these, then it'd be sitting nice. Then the front end would have as much depth as the rear end. But yeah, this car is absolutely a blast. It's fun to drive, and yeah, I mean, there's not really much negative I could say on it. If you guys found this video helpful or like this content, drop a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, smash that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell so you can stay in the loop on all the videos to come. As always, thank y'all for watching. I really appreciate the support, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace out.